Well, Shelley, I just thought I'd take a minute and ask you a couple questions and just have you relay this to the board. Just to, number one, save us some time. But number two, it would allow us to talk about the things that are really important right now. So in what ways has COVID caused you to pivot, and how do you think that'll help us in the future?
Well, I think for Faith and Grief, we did a very quick pivot back in March and early April, really out of necessity. With COVID coming, just taking off and really flooding everything and changing how we're working every day. That included our host churches. Many of them quickly closed their offices and closed down to worship, which also closed down to any kind of small group and large group meetings. At first, we all thought this might be very temporary. So though we pivoted quickly and went to online meetings, we certainly didn't expect to be doing it still here in late August. Overall, I think having an online presence has been good. From now till we should continue to have an online presence. Right now through the fall, it looks like we will definitely continue gatherings online. Most of our host churches now, as we've all kind of walked into August and now into the fall, see that most of the churches are not going to return to worship in person, or if they are, it's definitely a different version of that. But many of them, even though they may be having worship, are not necessarily having meetings on campus or meetings at the church. So we have several churches that groups of churches of our host sites that have decided to, okay, we're just going to go online and do the gathering on our normal day once a month, and we'll do it online. So that's kind of the plan at this point for the fall.
So do you kind of see us having a online presence and an in-person presence as we move forward?
I think so. Probably one of the benefits that we've seen in this time is we've been able to reach people all over the country. The folks who are coming to our gatherings and the participants that are coming to the workshop, they need this right now. They need the support during their grief. Probably the only difference I've seen between in-person and online is actual participant numbers. Our workshops get full, but the gatherings are pretty small. And honestly, I think technology has something to do with that. But we are seeing a change in that now as we've kind of gone through the summer and people are starting to accept the fact that this is how things are right now.
I know two of the things that you've done that are different that we've pivoted to just recently are the podcasts, which are very good, by the way, and the book club. So kind of what has been the initial response or reaction that you're getting from folks on those?
Both of them very positive. We'll have our second book club next Thursday, Refined by Fire by Mary Potter Kenyon. And she's done a recorded one of the podcasts that we just did. The book's really good. Last month we met with Fran Shelton and reviewed and discussed her book, No Winter Lasts Forever. I think for the book club, it's a way for some of the folks that we've engaged in. Sometimes a gathering or a workshop is maybe too personal. And a book is a way for people maybe to get in touch with their feelings in grief in a slightly different way. I'm going to continue to promote those. Right now, we're going to continue to have book club through the end of the year. We'll see how that goes. But I will just say the good thing about the podcast, besides being able to provide some information and some conversations around faith and grief, which we kind of targeted towards healthcare professionals, mainly because we knew trying to offer them a grief support group, probably they didn't have time for. The podcast has opened up a lot of doors for us in conversations with organizations, with funding organizations, and it's been fun to produce. And I've learned a lot from the people I've interviewed. And I think people listening do too. In talking with our podcast studio, I kind of told them, what our listening numbers would be. And they said, that sounds really good for a brand new podcast that, you didn't really have any expectations around, other than to maybe provide some information and maybe a little education. So overall, I think they've been served well. I think having a podcast and even the book club is a new way to connect with people that we might not otherwise. We typically have been very centralized with where our host sites are, as far as who knows what Faith and Grief is. And both those outlets are allowing us to reach authors, reach a larger audience outside of, where we've typically what our audiences looked like or who we've served.
Okay, cool. No, I think they're both very well done. So what processes are in place to keep us in contact with our business partners, the people that we've done business with for a while? And how would you say they're doing?
I think overall, like you mean with the host sites?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, with the host sites from the very beginning, we continued. Susan Engel does a fabulous job as a host liaison. She typically has weekly conversations or weekly meetings with most of our host sites. This has definitely been a different time for all of us, including Susan, because what she was doing, we've shifted, and now she's doing slightly different administrative help in that area. But we've tried to keep the doors of communication open. We've had several meetings throughout this time, checking in with them, seeing what the latest situation is in each area, because some of the areas that we have our host sites, for instance, like New Jersey, was a hot spot very early on. They had to shut down everything. And because they're in an assisted living facility, in addition to the other services they provide, they're still kind of in lockdown right now. So it's been a process kind of shifting how we are working with them. We just had some meetings the last couple of weeks with leaders and volunteers, mainly because I was a little bit concerned that over the summer, which always happens in the summer, is everything kind of slows down a little bit, but I just didn't want them to be disengaged. We have some excellent vetted, trained volunteers that run our gatherings all around the country, and we didn't want to lose that momentum and lose that engagement. Overall, I think they're like all of us, surprised that we're still kind of where we are, slightly heartbroken that they can't serve in the way that they want to, are scrambling to figure out ways to do that if possible. And in discussions with me and Susan, I think one of my concerns was, please, if you're not doing it, let us know. Be in contact with those people that you've been serving locally, whether that's email contact, like some church traditions have deacons and things that can check in with those folks, because they may be isolated. They may be grieving alone somewhere because of COVID, and we just need to make sure that they know that there is something available for them, whether it's an online stuff or maybe a phone call. So.
Yeah, I know I sent some cards to different people the last few weeks that I know are older and maybe not as live alone or live in nursing homes.
Right.
I've had a lot of them reach out in the last little while, so you never know, how you can touch somebody.
Yeah, and it's easy to get into our own stuff and kind of because we're getting out of the rhythm of that monthly gathering and that kickoff of a workshop or whatever. So yeah, but I think it's important to encourage that as best we can.
Yeah. Well, I think you're doing a great job. So I appreciate you giving us some insight, and I appreciate you letting the board kind of know what's going on. So thank you for that.